Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be looking at the full moon on October 17th, but I'm also going to be looking at the Mars transits that are going to be happening for the next few months. This full moon does kind of kick off a new energy that we're going to be experiencing, and it's not just during this full moon. It is going to be until late February because Mars is going to go retrograde and we are already in the shadow. So let's get into it. So we have a full moon on October 17th at 7:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to put the chart right here. This full moon will be in Aries. You'll notice that the sun and moon are in the same sign as the nodes. This is not an eclipse. It is almost an eclipse, but it has a little bit of that eclipse energy for many different reasons. The first thing that I want to address in this chart is the position of Mars. This full moon is in a square to Mars, a pretty tight square too. And if you look at where Mars is in the chart, Mars is in the sign of Cancer, where it is debilitated. Cancer is a water sign. It is very much associated with our emotions, and Mars is the aggressor. It is the warrior. And so to have Mars in this position, squaring both the sun and the moon, tells me that there is going to be a little bit of an energy of irritability in the air, that people might not have total control over their emotions, specifically over their anger or their reactions to certain things. This is a great time to, before you react, take 3 deep breaths. Don't respond just based on your emotions. You'll also notice in this chart that Mars is coming close to being opposite Pluto. Now, this is going to be one of the main aspects on election day. And so there is going to be tension, and this is building up until then. This aspect is one of tension. Any opposition, especially any opposition involving Mars, tends to point out tension. Leading up to the election, Mars is going to be in Cancer. So we're going to be seeing a lot of this. I don't know. I just think of like a child throwing a tantrum at a grocery store sort of energy. Don't be the child throwing the tantrum at the grocery store. Take 3 deep breaths, okay? Mars will move into Leo on election day, but oh no, that's not going to save us because Mars will be going retrograde in December. From now until then, you might notice things kind of slowing down, not really being able to make as much progress as you want to. From now until December, definitely get your ducks in a row because from December until the end of February, Mars will be retrograde. And so if you're frustrated now with the productivity, you really want to get your ducks in a row so that when Mars retrograde does hit, you're not hitting your head against a wall. So Mars is one of the big players, not only during this full moon, but for the next 5 months. One other thing I wanted to point out about this full moon chart is that Chiron is closely conjunct the moon. So not only are we being triggered by Mars, but you might feel like a lot of your past wounds are being dug up and triggered during this time. This is not my favorite full moon of the year. It doesn't mean that you can't work with this full moon. I wouldn't necessarily use this full moon. I mean, I would personally never use a full moon to manifest, but figuring out some sort of healthy way to release your emotions, whether that has to do with meditation or going to, what do they call them? Like the rage rooms. That would be a really great thing to do during this full moon. Just like wear goggles. Be careful. I also actually have a meditation called Release Emotions that helps you breathe through those difficult emotions and release them from your aura, from your energetic body. I'm going to put a link for that down below. But focusing on release is important during full moons specifically. If you think of the lunar cycle, the moon is waxing up until a full moon, so it's building on itself, which is a good time to build things or manifest things in your life. Versus during a full moon and after a full moon, the moon is waning and becoming smaller. It is releasing. So that is how I like to use these lunar cycles. I like to release on the full moon and manifest during the new moon. The next thing I want to point out in this chart, you see we have Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn and we have Venus at 29 degrees Scorpio. Both Pluto and Venus at this time are at 29 degrees, the critical degree, making a sextile to each other. So both Mars and Venus are not in signs that they are comfortable in right now. Venus does not do well in Scorpio. However, what I will say, I love a Scorpio Venus. It is very powerful. It is very much, let's reveal the shadow. This symbolism for me just kind of like points in the direction of what we've been seeing happen especially over the past year, what we're going to be seeing happening in the future once Pluto ingresses into Aquarius. It is a culmination of the collapse of the old paradigm. It's tense. It's a bit tense. But I think we as a collective focusing on balancing our energy is going to be key during this time. It is going to be key, especially moving into 2025. The energy of this full moon is going to be intense. However, you have the tools in your toolbox to work with these energies, to release your emotions in a healthy way. This is a great opportunity to do that. Let go. Let go of the anger, the rage, the resentment, whatever it is that you're holding on to in a healthy way, and allow that to propel you into the future with greater insight of who you are. I have so many more videos for you guys that I can't wait to share talking about 2025. My first video on the Grand Minor Trine. I know I've been teasing that for a while, but I have finally figured out a way to talk about it by breaking it down into separate topics and talking to other experts about these things. There is always a way to use these intense transits to your advantage. That's why I'm here, to help you with that. So anyway, I hope that helped, and I'll see you next time.